All right, let's say good morning, everyone, and we're going to call our special commissioners meeting to order. Let's have prayer. Father, we thank you, Lord, for blessing us to come out this morning and to conduct a visit for the county. We thank you, Lord, for all your blessings, your mercy, goodness, and grace. And we ask your guidance and direction and wisdom as we conduct this meeting. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. All right, this is a special meeting, and actually we only have one item on our agenda to discuss this morning, and that is a proposed amendment, text amendment to the zoning ordinance. And I'll give a little brief history on what we're doing. The Gates House Assisted Living Facility had to get a special use permit in order to build a facility in the Commerce Park. And along with the special use permit and the approval of the building plans, it was told to them that they needed 1.2 parking spaces per bedroom, and based on the zoning ordinance. And when they calculated that, they based it on 70 beds instead of 50 bedrooms is what they were going to have. And as a result of that, they ended up with 101 parking spaces because they had to have extra spaces as well for the employees. Well, 101 parking spaces is greatly excessive. It's not normal. And when we did the research, we found that the designation of the assisted living facility as a residential support center, that was incorrect as well. So what they did was they were instructed, I believe, based on some letters and information, all it may not be documented, that go ahead and present the 101 spaces to the Board of Adjustments, and they could come back later and get a variance. Well, when they did question it and want to come back and get a variance, once the research was done, it was determined that once the Board of Adjustments made a decision, and after 30 days, it would have to be appealed to the Superior Court rather than bring it back to them as a variance. So they were not able to process a variance to change the parking spaces. We recognize as a board that we need to make provision for accurate parking spaces. And county manager has talked to the school of government, and the process they've laid out is to request a text amendment. And once we get a text amendment to the zoning ordinance to identify what the requirement is for an assisted living facility, then the assisted living facility can request an amendment to their special use permit and have it changed that way, and it would be legally safe. So, having said that, you have before you your package. This is the letter to the planning board. And I may point out, if you go through your package, you'll see page 16 of the zoning ordinance. And if you go down to item 71, it says, A residential support center is a facility owned or operated by a nonprofit organization intended to be used solely for the temporary occupancy by outpatients being treated at a local hospital and family members of patients being treated at a local hospital with occupancy not to exceed 20 families per acre. Obviously, that does not apply to assisted living facility. So basically, there are no, and the next chart you have, it shows, that was to show the, whether or not it was residential commercial, but it shows that for a residential support center, a C1 would have been permitted, although we got a special use permit. So, you know, there were some errors made all along. But the designation was incorrect. So here's what we, as the board, we would bring to the board for consideration and approval to go to the planning board. All right, if you'll go with me with the letter. The letter is dated October 29, 2014, from the Gates County Board of Commissioners. The subject is parking space amendment to the zoning ordinance. It says, this letter is written to request your review and comments on a proposed amendment to reference A, which will allow the Gates House Assisted Living Facility to request an amendment to their special use permit that currently specify 101 parking spaces in accordance with reference B. The information presented to Gates House incorrectly required them to have 101 parking spaces per the requirements of reference B, because Gates House is a 70-bed facility with only 50 bedrooms. Therefore, the required parking spaces should have been 60, plus the number of spaces required for each employee on duty, estimated at 17. Consequently, the maximum number of spaces required would have been 77 per reference B, not 101 as required by the special use permit. Also, the definition of a residential support center on page 16 of reference A clearly shows the requirement to have 1.2 parking spaces per bedroom does not apply to assisted living facilities, but applies to facilities, quote, owned or operated by a nonprofit organization intended to be used solely for temporary occupancy by outpatients being treated at a local hospital and family members of patients being treated at a local hospital with occupancy not to exceed 20 families per acre. Gates House Assisted Living LLC has requested a variance be issued for 42 parking spaces in lieu of scaling back to 77 spaces that would have been required initially if reference B was correctly interpreted, although it is not applicable. The request for a variance could not be processed through the Board of Adjustments nor through Superior Court because it exceeded 30 days from the time the special use permit was issued. Pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 168, 388, paragraph E2, subparagraph 2, as interpreted by David Owens, professor of law at UNC School of Government. The reason for specifying 42 spaces is explained in reference C. And the normal parking space requirement for similar assisted living facilities built in surrounding North Carolina counties generally allow from 1/4 to 1/3 parking space for each bedroom unit, plus an additional space for each employee. The following North Carolina counties have assisted living facilities that were built in recent years with approved parking requirements as follows. Macon County's Franklin House Assisted Living Facility, 70 beds, 42 parking spaces. Currituck County's Currituck House Assisted Living Facility, 90 beds with 54 parking spaces. Yancey County's Yancey House Assisted Living Facility, 70 beds with 37 parking spaces, and others have similar ratios. Considering reference A does not have parking space requirements applicable to assisted living facilities, the Gates County Board of Commissioners, per recommendation of David Owens, UNC School of Government, proposed to amend the Reference A zoning ordinance by adding and requiring assisted living facilities to have 1/2 parking space for each bedroom, plus 1 parking space for each employee on duty. For a 70-bed facility with 50 bedrooms, like the one Gates House Assisted Living Facility is constructing, the new requirement would specify 42 parking spaces. This is the letter attached also to the letter. We have a letter from Engineering Environmental Science Company to the county manager, Ms. Natalie Roundtree. And it says, "Dear Ms. Roundtree, the Gates House is a proposed assisted living facility with 70 beds. The proposed facility is located at 11 Commerce Drive, just off of Highway 158 in Gatesville, North Carolina. Submitted with this letter are the most recently revised drawing plans for the facility. Recent revisions to the plans include reducing the number of parking spaces to 42. The Institute of Transportation Parking Generation 4th Edition gives an 85th percentile peak period parking demand for this type of facility of 0.48 spaces per bed, for a total of 34 spaces for this facility. Based on the ITE's parking generation rates, as well as prior experience and familiarity with this type of facility, the proposed 42 spaces will provide ample parking for the facility. Sincerely, Patrick Shillington, professional engineer." So with this information concerning parking spaces and the need for Gates House to move forward with preparation and outlining of their parking area, we would ask that the board would approve requested comments from the planning board prior to calling a public hearing for changing of the zoning ordinance.
Chairman Jordan, first I'd like to ask, why was this special meeting required when we have a meeting next week, a regular scheduled meeting? It really places a burden on Linda and myself. We both have scheduled work days today and have to give those up in order to be here, rather than having this regular scheduled meeting next week. This is not something that has just come up. It's been in effect for quite a while. And my second question is, who is representing Gates Health Investors in this request? Is it this engineering firm? Is it, who represents this request?
Well, the request came about as a result of them requesting a variance. Now, initially, when the county manager was talking with Chuck White, who is the consultant for Gates House, they were instructed to submit a variance. They submitted a variance application along with $650. And after it was, discussions went on with School of Government, it was found that you really couldn't, you had a lot of proofs to show why you were requesting a variance, and it really didn't feel it met all those proofs, so it would have to go to Superior Court, and it exceeded the time limit for that.
I know, but rather than they, who is requesting this variance?
The variance came from Gates House. Chuck White requested it, and the engineering letter here was submitted along with it.
The engineering firm, are they the representatives, or is someone else requesting?
Gates House is requesting.
Okay, I've tried to find Gates Health Investors, LLC. I cannot find any information on them other than the one representative, Oscar Keller from Hickory, North Carolina. Are there anyone else, is there anyone local that is involved in this project?
So you got Keller Construction, they're the ones that is constructing the facility. See, the way the facility is constructed is that Keller builds the facility and basically Gates House leases it, is my understanding of how that works. They are the builders and Gates House will lease the facility, so, you know,
I have,
Oscar Keller is listed as the manager for the property, I believe he is. Yeah, he's manager member. So he's the only name that I can find that is associated with this organization. And he's from Hickory, North Carolina.
well, the thing that we have to, as a board, we have to recognize that as far as the variance cannot be processed. Okay? You have a copy, of course, county manager sent the variance back, but you have an official request, application filled out, you have a check for $650. They requested the variance. All right,
and that variance was for setbacks.
No, no. If I may, Mr. Chuck White called me, and after the permit had been issued, and said that they felt 101 parking spaces were too many.
And when was that?
That was right after they broke ground, so it's beginning of October.
Okay, but they had the original, they had asked for a special
Back in April.
April.
Right.
Did we have a footprint of the building and the parking at that particular
Yes.
point of time?
Yes. This is what was submitted back in April. It showed 84 parking spaces because they had been informed that they needed 1.2 beds, 1.2 parking spaces. And so that came up to 84 total parking spaces. The special use permit was to put the adult assisted living facility in the commercial district because that's not addressed by the ordinance. So that's what they did. The letter was sent on April the 16th to Al Carey, who represented the company during this time. Well, actually before Gates Health Investors had purchased the land, because at that time Mr. Al Carey still owned the land. And the letter reads, the Board of Adjustment issued special use permit on April 15th. There are a few conditions placed on the project. Additional parking must be added to meet the zoning requirement. There are also 2 variances that were discussed, and it explains that one of them was denied and one of them was approved.
Okay, and the one that was approved was
Was the front canopy.
about setbacks and all?
Yes.
And the one denied?
Was about the rear wing of the building, 5 feet into the setback, and that was denied.
Okay.
Then when they came to have their permit issued in September, they were told they needed additional spaces. And the only place that referenced the 1.2 parking spaces was the residential support center, which also had the additional statement with 1 space for every employee who's on duty, which came up to the 17. Nothing else on this chart that you have references the 1.2.
Okay.
So that's where the 101 parking spaces came about. They redrew it, that's what was submitted, and that's what was approved with permit.
Okay, the residential support center though cannot be applied because that's a nonprofit, and this certainly is a profit organization.
Well, and also, it was also, as we dug even further into it, it was already a permitted use in the commercial district.
Okay, so that is, in reference to the number of parking places at facilities that was listed in the letter that we received, they talk about Currituck, they talk about Franklin Heights, which I could not find.
I can answer that one. It's not been built. I actually called Macon County this morning. The county has no zoning, but this is being handled by the town of Franklin. I thought I had found what was used, but I'm not sure, so I've left a message with the town of Franklin's planner to find out. It has not been built yet. They
Okay,
are-
that's why I couldn't find it, okay, that's why I was looking for it. And Yancey Assisted Living,
Yancey Assisted Living, I spoke with their county manager this morning because they do not have zoning in the county. He said he's been there 6 years and their house has been there for at least that long, so he's not sure how they determine the number of spaces.
okay. I do know, I'm familiar with Winslow's, my mother was a resident there for 11 months, and I talked to them. They have 146 beds at Winslow's, and they have 156 parking spaces. And I will tell you, it is not enough, during the holiday season, it's not enough, but just disregard holidays, because that's special, you know, a lot of people coming in. But on shift changes, that's problematic for that. So I am concerned with you reduce it so much, where are people going to park?
We haven't established who is representing this organization yet, but whoever it was did realize that they had to have more than 42 parking spaces last April. And they went ahead and signed their paperwork and started their procedures knowing that. My problem is we just have been over backwards out there on this place. Everything that's been done out there has been by special privilege, it looks like, rather than following our organized zoning ordinance and subdivision ordinances. Each time they want something, it's been a special permit for them. And it just seems to me that people that are coming in here to do something, they have this book of ordinance rules and regulations, they read it, they go by it, rather than trying to say, okay, we want to change what you've got and start over and do it the way we want to do it.
Well, we didn't give them the right information. You told them to have 1.2 parking spaces for a residential support center. You don't have a residential support center.
But they were in agreement with doing that last April.
They're the enforcement officers. If you've got the authority to invoke something and you tell them that's what they got to have, what avenues do they have?
They were in agreement to do this, and now they want special, or somebody, I don't know who it is, somebody wants special privileges again for this development out here.
I think it's a special privilege for Gates County to have a $5 million investment to come to the county, a 70-bed facility. And we work hard to try to bring in business and economic development to the county, and we're going to invoke requirements that are not there, first of all. And then we as a board are going to not try to help them to get through the process so that they can utilize the right or apply the right spaces that they should have.
Let's see if we can, I'm just trying to get my mindset. You know, I'm looking at all the information that is in front of me. In this, okay. In April, they handed this in, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and they had 84 parking spots.
No, you don't have 84. You've got about 56 parking. That's what I don't understand. They were told to have 84. Here you've
Well,
got,
it doesn't say they were told, it said that they had 84 on there.
well, it's not 84 on there.
Well,
If you count it, you'll count about 50 to 56 parking spaces, somewhere around there.
I was just looking at this letter that was sent.
If you note up here in this corner, it says required parking spaces, 1.2 spaces per every bed is 84 parking. And then over here on the right-hand side, it says required variances, can it be located within 65 feet of the front yard setback and reduce parking spaces to 46 spaces.
Okay, was that given, by former interim county manager, did he agree to the 46?
This is 82, adding these numbers up.
That's 82 on that.
That is 82, and this is the same as this one. According to information I have been provided, Mr. Al Carey is the one who submitted the the special use permit, and that the information provided to him was from the interim county manager that says minimum lot size 2 acres and parking standards is 1.2 per bed.
So that 1.2 came from Mr. Windley.
I think it came from our planning department. There's an email that was sent to me, specifying that there was a residential support center with 1.2 spaces per bedroom. Now, Mr. Windley may have taken that information, but that is documented in that email, that it was 1.2 spaces per bedroom.
Is this the one from, here are the issues, 3 lots have to be recombined, setbacks, the front
Yes.
setback, parking spaces will be 1.2 per bedroom.
Exactly.
Okay. The current owners must sign the special permit, use permit. And they didn't have a floor plan, okay. Okay, so that was given to them on March the 21st, 2014. This came in April.
Or right after, because the permit, I'm sorry, the special use permit was actually signed March the 26th, yes, March 26th. So
Okay.
that came in probably at the same time.
And this came in.
Would be my assumption, the date's on the bottom of it.
3/26/14.
Okay. So that is in March. I'm I'm just trying to figure out all this, the time frame and everything, how each step of the process went. So we have the letter given to them with the 1.2. We have a plan submitted to us with 80,
You said it was 82.
82.
84.
84. Okay, the plan was approved by,
The Board of Adjustment with additional parking added to meet the zoning requirement.
so it's a Board of Adjustments who added from the 84 to 10.
Yes.
Hold on, Commissioner. The ordinance says 1.2 parking spaces, so that would have dictated the 84 beds. Plus the ordinance says an additional space for each employee.
Well, certainly you have to have somewhere for them to park.
Right. So you add 17 to the 84, that's how you get your 101.
Okay. Yeah, I understood that, and because of the shift changes, really, you probably need more than 17 if you got 50-person staff, because there'll be, people coming and going, but we won't argue that point if it says half a number of what the staff is, but part of the time, all the staff is, almost the majority of them, right? And, okay. Let me see. When I was looking at the ordinance that was referenced here, certainly the residential support center does not meet the criteria of what this facility is. So we can, that is certainly true. It does not meet that. But when you look at these notes that are on the special use permit, now do we have the complete note for 9.03-20?
Yes, that was,
Did that end?
yes.
Okay.
And I will double check, because I did bring the book.
I would think this would be called a nursing and personal care facility.
Well, you don't have a parking assignment for that either, for a nursing facility. The only thing you have is 9.03, and that talks about the minimum side and yard setbacks, the paved driveway. But when you look on your chart for parking spaces, you don't have anything for, in the zoning ordinance, for the nursing and personal care facility. That is the other issue.
Well, what is Article 10 of the ordinance?
Article 10 has to do with the, limited uses of parking.
That's a sheriff's.
That's the off-street parking, off-street loading requirements is what is titled, but that is where that chart that you have, which, no, I put it back, we did not print that, the minimum parking requirements. And several of these that are mentioned throughout the ordinance are not addressed in the minimum parking requirements chart. There is the information at the bottom that says special situations which are not covered by the above shall be handled by the Board of Adjustment. The board shall make the final determination as to the number of spaces to be required, but shall in all cases give due consideration to the needs.
So, and because of the 30 days, the Board of Adjustments is IDA.
Correct.
IDA. Okay. Well, these mentioned that all these places that were mentioned about the number of parking spaces, well, it's Macon, Currituck, or Yancey, all those were done by Meridian.
To my understanding, yeah.
Yeah, so we're looking at what they have done in past, but we're not looking at overall, they certainly do not own and operate all the facilities. Because as you check in, like I say, in Elizabeth City, I know Winslet has much more parking than what is indicated on these.
Well, I've been to Pinewood over in Ahoskie, and,
Now Pinewood is, what was it, has that changed hands?
it's called Pinewood Manor Assisted Living. It's in a place called Poor Town, if you know what that is.
Was it something else, or was that the original name?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. But they don't even have paved parking. I mean, they have a designated, you got
And how old
parking.
is this facility?
I went in there, and it probably was built in the last 25, 30 years, 25 years.
Well, and of course, I kind of look around at the new facilities, most of them have paid parking.
Yeah.
So.
Also, down East Nursing Home, I
Yes.
counted those. They have 30 parking spaces, and I believe that's a 70-bed facility.
And they don't have enough parking.
Well, and I mean, that's 30 beds, 30 spaces.
Well, we're building this, not only for the people who are going to make money from the building, but we're building this for people, for the service of the people here in Gates County. And certainly family members who go to visit those need some consideration that they have a place to park. I mean, we got to be customer friendly too, not just the owner friendly. We got to be customer friendly.
Well, and I agree with that, but then, you have an engineering and environmental science company out of Raleigh, and they give you a professional opinion and recommendation stating that, the Institute of Transportation Engineers Parking Generation 4th edition gives an 85th percentile peak period parking demand for this type of facility, 0.48 spaces per bed, or a total of 34 spaces. I mean, these are professional opinions. This is not something we're just throwing out of the air. And if you're not going to go by your professional opinions, and just say, well, we could say have 150 spaces. Why not 200?
Well, this is a lot to process, and this is the first time I have seen this too. And I always like to check and verify everything, and certainly I would like to check that, because there's a lot of things out there. I can't imagine people that are in the business are going to put a lot more than is necessarily required, but I don't think 42 or whatever is anywhere near enough for that size of facility.
And if I may, I just realized on this sheet that I have added comments where I followed up, and some of the comments, if you'll notice, are on mine, they're not on yours, because I was finally able to get up with some of the people this morning.
Yes.
If you look at Currituck, I left the number out, which is a very, very important number. Where it says 3 spaces per bed, it's supposed to be per 5 beds, and that is what is on the chart on the diagram
Mm-hmm.
that was provided.
Plus, the American Disabilities Act.
Right.
You
And
had
all
to,
of, and all of that is in very fine print on that information that was provided from Mr. Chuck White whenever he sent that information to us. And Currituck House is built on their old zoning ordinance, it's not on their new. So if you do go and look at their new zoning, it does not match up. And I've been in frequent contact with the planner over there.
Well, I have a copy of the Pasquo Tank zoning ordinance, and I'll pass this down to you, Commissioner. They show here, look at this, top market here. This is what their requirement is for parking spaces.
excuse me.
Which is 1/4 per bed.
And this ordinance was, plus one vehicle. I think that was Pasco County.
Billy, want to go ahead, you want to say?
Now, the Cranberry Heights that you have on this chart is, has 1.5 per unit. So that is as by bedroom.
That's according to, this was what the interim county manager in Avery County sent to me via email. And for Chowan County, their new ordinance does state for nursing and convalescent homes the same standards as Pasquotane's residential care facility. But I was told by the person who is their planner, that Edenton House is an area that is not zoned.
Mhm. And so they have 60 spaces for 60 beds.
Yes, I have not been able to get up with RT to discuss that one.
Okay. And certainly Bertie is run by the same outfit as, that's building one here in Gates, correct?
Yeah, that's what we were told, that all of these were built by the same company.
Okay, it's interesting that was left off of the list that was provided to us because they have 1 per 1.
Which one?
I mean, Windsor Heights, they have 60 beds and 60
Mhm.
spaces. Whereas the rest of these are not that ratio. And in Edenton Heights, I don't know who operates that. You said all of these operated by one?
All of these were constructed by the same company.
Okay. And of course, we don't know the dates where some of these were constructed.
Probably about 5 days.
Okay, let me see.
The Currituck was approved prior to 2013, because I remember that's when their ordinance changed.
Yes, and I read, it was funny, I was reading about that, and it's almost like it's a template, the letter that they sent Ike to the newspapers or the newspaper article. If I hadn't known about it, I would have thought it'd been the article that was appeared in the Gates County Index. It was the same letter from Mr. White, basically, about the situation. Okay, so we got this in April. Do we have an updated map?
the one with the 101 that was permitted, and then last week they mailed one with the 42 spaces with the check for the request for the variance, but that check was returned since we could not go that route. We just kept the plans in the office on it, and I told them in the letter that we would be in contact with them to let them know how they needed to proceed.
I'm just concerned about it from a variety of, my concern is customer service and to the families that are going there. 42 is just not enough. It's, those of you, if you've had family members at a facility, is it safe? Okay, where are they going to park? Where is overflow going to go? In that, at that, I mean, I'm just thinking about it realistically, where is that going to go? The library's behind it, but there's a big ravine there. Are we going to, people going to go through that ravine? I mean, or are you going to park on Stony Lane? And that's the shoulder slayer? I mean, where are they going to park?
Oh.
We don't care?
No, I'm not saying I don't care. I'm saying that we've got documentation that says that, you know, that this is not the situation. You know, I've been down east, and yes, parking is a little tight. Sometimes you park on the grass. You're not parking in the parking lot. But, you know, it's from what you have, I haven't seen where that it is something that's unbearable.
Well, it had, you know, those ditches at the Merchants Commerce are not small ditches, and there's not a lot of green space on this map. Have you looked at this map? I'm sure you looked at it.
I mean,
But
you know, you've got, I'm not saying that, you know, they should park on Stony Lane or whatever. And what I'm saying is that based on statistics, that ratio is what has been recommended. Now, on the inner situation, you know, I went to Golden Corral the other day, other week, and you couldn't get in there. But it was an anomaly. I mean, I don't care how many parking spaces you have. It could possibly, at some point in time, you're not going to have enough.
well,
But you have 101 parking spaces.
I'm not saying that it's 101. I'm just saying 42 is not enough. Also, you have not taken American Disability Act. There's got to be some set aside handicap parking close to the building. Wasn't it one space for
It's
every?
one space for every 25, and then after that, I can't remember if it's actually 2 for every 50, 3 for 75. I think somewhere in there it does change.
So, I mean, those need to be added to that. If you got a 50-person staff and you are giving them just 7 spaces, because you said you had 70 and you're going to be 35 beds, that only leaves 7 spaces for staff. How are you going to have a 50-person staff and 7 slots?
How many do you recommend, Chris Paul?
What?
How many do you recommend?
More than that. Okay, let's try to think of staff. If you got a 50-person staff, and now different
That's
nursing
pretty
homes do it different. Some have 12-hour shifts, 12, you know, and so if you do it like that, it's 25. But we know some of the staff is not on 12-hour shifts. The administrators, the dietitians and maintenance, they probably have a regular 8-hour day. But it's certainly more than, you know, so I don't know how you figure that out, but it would be more than 7 if you just add.
17, they figured 17.
Well, 35 is.
No, he's talking about the original.
Yeah, the 101, yeah, 84 plus 17.
But on this with 42 is, if you got 35 beds, 35 from 42 is 7. So how do you get seven spaces for the staff?
If you have a half of, you got 50 bedrooms, so you would have 25 spaces.
Okay, you have 50 bedrooms, and you got 2 people in a, these are semi-private, correct?
So normally those people don't, but they don't normally have, have vehicles there.
No, but I mean, they do have friends and family.
But I mean, they come and go. I mean, it's not, it's not, all at one time.
You have him come in tomorrow.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I was on anomaly. I went to Winslow's every day.
Oh, I mean, and that's, that's probably expected, but not every one of their residents is going to have that kind of.
Okay, but out of 70 beds, you think 70 beds, now we're talking beds, not bedrooms, 70 beds, you've given them, how did you get 25?
You take 1/2 parking space for each bedroom, and you got 70 beds.
So that's
No,
35.
I'm sorry, no. 1/2 parking space for each bedroom, you got 50 rooms, 50 bedrooms with 70 beds. So if you take a half a parking space for each bedroom, that's 25.
Okay. But you're going to have 70 people, even if you only have 50 bedrooms. People do have visitors. Church groups come in at different times to give programs on a variety of things. It is just not enough. Because look, where are they going to do? You say, well, they park on the grassy areas. There's not much grass here. If you look, because they have built to the, excuse me.
And may I show you where they put the additional parking spaces? They have put 4 of them back here, and then this grassy area, they put in the additional 101. So it's 101 there, and there's where they did put in the additional parking.
Are they aware of our ordinance?
They asked for the link up to it, and I gave it to them.
In here, it's clearly said that the minimum parking space is 10 by 20, those are 8 by 18.
It's not 10 or 20.
That's 8 by 8, 18 by 8.
On one of your revised drawings.
And I did not bring the ones that have the 101. We can call Edgar and Valerie, and they can, one of them can bring it over here.
I saw 10 by 20 on one of the drawings. I don't think that, I know I saw that Billy did 10 by 20.
Now, if the residential support information is used just as an example, that would give them 77 spaces because it's 1.2 parking spaces per bedroom. And there are 50 bedrooms. I did confirm that with Chuck White.
And so 77 and,
Because it'd be the 1.2 and then the 1 space for each employee on duty.
okay.
And that would make 77. Last week when I was in class, I spoke just very briefly again with David Owens and Adam Lovelady, both who are experts in zoning, and they felt like a recommendation that actually came out of planning department when they first approached us about going from 101. We thought they were going to go back to the 84, which was submitted, and we had thought, well, if you just went to the 84, you can just not pave it, leave it grass, do not landscape it, that could be overflow parking. Then they came back with the 42, and the School of Government, when I was speaking with them last week, they said, yes, that is a bigger difference, but that, in their opinion, they could continue building the building while this is resolved. Just go ahead and ask them to continue grading as if they do have to have the 101 until this issue is resolved.
And this one has 84.
That's,
But the permit was that.
And
we have-
if they stay with 84, it's not a problem, right?
Right, the school of government said that they felt like it would be fine if we, if the county was in agreement that with the initial 84, just leave it as green, as a greenway, and then they could park there, not to plant trees, not to do the landscaping.
the issue is, I received a call from Mr. Keller, who is the construction contractor, and for them to make provisions for 100 parking space, he would have to pull off of his grading people. It could hold this job up for 30 days or more. He has to have, he needs a resolution so that they can proceed, or else he's gonna have to he cannot continue to grade in the manner that he's doing.
And this is another piece of information that we were not told, prior to this. I just like to have the full story. I just like to have a full story, give me the facts, and then let me go through it. That's kind of the way I work. And
Well, the issue is that if that's gonna happen, you're gonna have more meetings than we're having.
Well, I mean-
As the chairman of the board, I try to stay in contact and stay on top of the information and try to relay it to the board. But if we gotta call a meeting every time, I mean, that's
we
gonna,
sent an email that said, that about the, that they would hold up. But, okay, what is the builder going on now with the plans about this park?
He's still been told it was 101 until this issue was resolved, because that's what the permit was issued on. And then I did print out the email from David Owens, that outlines every options and how really there's really only one option.
Is it,
It was the last,
yes, I have it here somewhere.
because he says even though they were given incorrect information by the county, they should have, if they had an issue with it, they should have appealed. The 30 days to appeal to the Superior Court has passed.
well, see, that's
They
what.
cannot do that.
That's where the differences of opinions are. First of all, this is an error. An error, our ordinance provides that you can appeal an error to the Board of Adjustment.
General statute takes precedence over our ordinance. Out
We
of
don't-
the course cases cited by David Owens.
First of all, Ms. County Manager, this is an interpretation. Our ordinance is an approved, this is law. And section 1304 provides for the appeal to the Board of Adjustments for an error, and it has a process laid out there. Now, the issue is that it's interpreted by the school government that this parking assignment was done by the Board of Adjustment, therefore, it would be appealing a decision that they made. But what they did is they applied the parking based on the information that they were given. So it's an error that we're dealing with, and technically, based on who's interpreting, one says no, they can't hear it, then someone else says can.
Well, I think if you, the general statute, and I can't quote it, I thought I had run it off, here. And I did not, I don't think it,
I have the general statute. 388,
I can't remember the citation number. I have it, I had looked it up. Commissioner Phil, you happen to have it?
I was just reading it.
here it is right here.
The process for appeals.
Section 1304 in the zoning ordinance. It gives you the process for appeals for errors.
Now, she was talking about the general statute.
I'm talking about general statutes of North Carolina.
Right, that's the general statute. You're looking at section E2 on the back page. That's the one that they're quoting.
If I may point to the email dated Friday, October the 17th. And the date is 8:16 PM, page 2,
October what?
17th is the last email in the original file that I distributed. On page 2,
Is it addressed to who?
this one is, the top of it, of course, says my name. It says from H. Jordan, sent Friday, October 17th, 2014 at 8:16 PM. It is one of the stapled documents.
Okay, gotcha.
Oh, it's in this pack.
Yes, the last ones I handed out. It is the stapled documents. It is page 2. If you'll notice, there's an underlined case from Mount Ola Historical Preservation Society Incorporated versus Rowan County. Says so even if the staff or Board of Adjustment made an error in interpretation of the current parking standards, neither the Board of Adjustment nor the courts have any jurisdiction to hear such an appeal now. And that was just decided this year.
You go ahead and do that, something else could go hang up. Thinking about an organization that's getting ready to spend $5 million on a property. And why would they even want to do the very bare minimum of support?
Well, I would like to see adequate parking as much as anyone. But when I look at what is currently provided for other facilities, when I see what the professional recommendation is, I mean, you could want to have a lot more, but are we gonna put, you know, these additional expenses, these additional requirements, for the sake of saying that, you know, I really want to be comfortable in my parking, when it's not a normality. Certainly, this company is concerned about their people. You know, they're not going to build a facility that with inadequate parking, knowing that that's not going to be a good publicity for them. And like I said, you know, when you look at other facilities, many of them don't have as much as this facility.
Well, I respectfully disagree with that. The ones you have quoted here do not, but on the list that our county manager gave us, the numbers that were, 60-60 and so on, Windsor 60-60, so there are places that Meridian has built with more parking than what they're trying to reduce this one to. And looking at nursing facilities that are not built by Meridian, they certainly have more parking. So let's make sure that we're comparing apples to apples and just not cherry picking. Things that will support our preference. And I do feel like, as a commissioner, yes, I want economic development to come. However, I want it to be I'm thinking about the citizens and the people who visit there. I'm concerned, and it's a public safety issue. If they don't have sufficient parking and their parking scattered all around, that is a safety concern. 102 might have been excessive. but I don't think 42 is enough. You know, I think there's some area that we might can find some common ground and do with that, and then have the area so that there could be overflow. You know, I'm not an unreasonable person. However, I do think 42 is definitely not enough. 102 might have been excessive. However, it's not excessive on a holiday, I can tell you that. But anyway, I think there could be an area that we might could all agree upon.
What is that area?
Well, I don't know.
Well, we've got a company here that's in process of construction, laying the foundation, doing the outline and grading, and we're the ones now that really can hold this project up. We've got grants on the line that need to be timely. The timelines need to be met so that we can keep those grants and keep them costing the citizens of this county additional money.
And who's responsible for the delay? They knew it in April. This is October, the end of October. Where were they during this time frame?
If you're gonna tell them they gotta have 1.2 parking spaces, and that's not even applicable to them, the information that's been given has not been good information.
But that was the information was given that they knew, that they were told, they knew. Okay, yeah, if it was a mistake was made, that's true. But they knew that they should have started questioning then.
My understanding is that they were instructed to go ahead.
Who instructed them to go ahead?
Was it
The letter I have is April 16th, and it's from the interim county manager that said add additional parking spaces. There was no further communication that I'm aware of until they came in to apply for their permit.
So once again, something was done that we did not.
Well, the thing about it is, the buck stops here. We hire people to do a job for us. That's the bottom line. We as commissioners, we hire a county manager. That county manager is supposed to carry out the will of the board. Now, if they don't do it, then it stops here. It is our responsibility to get someone that can do the job the way it's supposed to be done.
Okay,
Now-
and who did they did not consult us, I didn't hope,
Well,
I would
first of all,
say
we
they
don't
did
wanna
not
come to a
consult
meeting.
me.
I'm talking right now that we don't want to come to a meeting because I've got other things to do.
No, I asked why was this a special meeting, and we have one scheduled for next week.
Because if you can get this, if we can get past this today and present this, ask the planning board if they would review it and try to provide some comments to us. They don't have to, they're supposed to get 30 days. But if we could do that, we could speed the process along where that we could have a public hearing at our night meeting on November the 17th or whatever and address this issue.
Planning board doesn't meet till the 18th. They meet the 18th.
Well, they would give.
But to add to what Ms. Hopper was just saying, when our interim county manager gave this letter, we were not advised of it. We didn't know it existed. We weren't asked, is this the thing to do?
Well, that's the thing, Billy, about when you've got people working for you. If they're not going to tell you everything, we hire them based on the fact that they're going to do the job
But
the best that they know.
We're not told everything.
No, we're not told everything.
I'm just talking about some of us in here are not told everything.
If every time a piece of information comes about, and if you got to make a phone call to every commissioner,
I'm not talking about everything. This is pretty big deal. When
As you can point out, it's a
Somebody-
$5 million project. That's kind of a big deal here in Gates County. And that we should be kept abreast. Now, I'm on a lot of boards, and most of the time, they give us at each meeting, they give us an update about different things. Mr. Winley did not give us any update about this, or did not give it to the board when we were sitting as a group. I'm not saying pick up the phone call, picking up the telephone every time something comes up. No, we hire people to do the job. But when things like this, it is smart management to keep people informed, especially the people who are, you know, as you pointed out, the buck stops here. I'd kind of like to know.
Okay, we didn't know that decision was made. So now what do we do? As a board, this is why we're here now, to try to make a decision to move forward so that we can resolve this.
That's right.
Even if it was not properly handled.
Okay, they're moving dirt out there right now. How are they moving dirt? On what premise are they moving dirt?
I understood it, Natalie, right, they're moving dirt on the premise that they're gonna have 101 parking spaces.
Is that correct or incorrect?
That they're moving dirt.
I mean, the people out there, I went by there, I was there last night at that library. They were right there still moving dirt and putting down pipe. They had to have some type of plan. What is the type of plan that how are they doing that? I mean, you have to move dirt, you got to have some type of design. What is the design that they're using?
Well, they said 46 spaces up here. That's the plan that they, 42 spaces, that's what the plan shows.
But this plan shows
84.
84.
So we have a note up here,
Right, but when you add those numbers, that is not
Required variances.
46.
they go,
That, when you add those numbers, that is not 46.
this space, you got about 50 some spaces here.
You have 82 spaces,
On this.
yes. Because these are the numbers for parking spaces. And the Board of Adjustments minutes do not address parking. And I do have a copy from, that's in this file, I did not make one for everyone, but they do not address parking to the detail that they were, you know, up here with the 46 versus the 82 versus whatever other number.
It does have 86, you're right. But this one shows 86 spaces.
So they're moving the dirt with that, on that premise, correct?
They got a note up there that says required variation, reduce parking to 46.
But that variance was never addressed during the Board of
Why
Adjustment.
I requested,
Yeah, it was, well, I don't know if it's,
but it hasn't been requested.
Well, the thing of it is at this meeting, we can define what the parking spaces should be, and we can present that to the planning board, and have them to provide their comments, and we can move forward with having a public hearing and have the ordinance amended. That's all that's being asked.
okay, and I'll tell you what, I will make a motion that we go with 86.
Based on, I'm just asking a question. Maybe you made a motion on the table? That's
I made a motion, we go with 86.
I'll second.
Further discussion. That's the number that you.
That's the number that's on the plan.
Another
Say
second
request for
question.
reduction. You've got 70 beds. You've got information that, you've got other houses with 70, 60.
And I have information here where some have more than.
I would ask Commissioner Hopper that based on the information that we have, the documentation, the professional opinions that we have, if that if you would modify that and, instead of 86, if you could make that, if we could go 56.
I feel like I'm in an auction. No, I'll stand with my 86. I'll stand with my 86.
This still has to come before the planning board for approval of that plan.
And-
It has not been, has that been approved by the
This-
planning board?
This one was what they submitted, and then the 101 is what they submitted and got their permit on.
But which one has been approved by the planning board? You can't, that has to be done.
Neither one of them, but the permit was already issued,
The permit shows how many.
101.
Okay, being that, we have a motion and second on the floor. Go ahead.
I will say this, I might consider it to amend to table if, to a future date, but as you point out, time is of the essence. Isn't that what I heard you say?
Yes, that's correct.
So, that would just delay. I'll stick with my.
Ma'am,
Mhm.
I know you've already made the motion, there is a motion on the table, but if there was a decision instead to delay it till next week and we could work on it, if you still even feel 84 is too many, or you said 86, but 84 is what was actually originally submitted.
Okay, well, I would amend it to the 84.
Okay, I was gonna say, and then that would be going back to what was originally my assumption, and like I said, I'm assuming based upon the documents that I have read, based upon the 1.2 spaces for each veteran and 1 space for each employee on duty, we would just go with the 1.2 spaces for each veteran. Because if we're looking for a text amendment, which is what, there needs to be a standard
Okay,
for the future.
so you
Versus
said,
saying 86 parking spaces.
okay, I can amend my motion to this is 1.2 per bed.
1.2 per bed is what they were originally told, yes.
1.2 per bed, and that would bring it.
That's the 84 that they were originally told.
I can deal with that.
1.2 parking spaces per bed.
That's what they were
That's-
originally told, and that's what they
Yeah,
told
but
us,
that was
84.
incorrect. It's not per bed, it's per bedroom. It's per bedroom.
But,
You're gonna put these, we bought economic development to Gates County, and now we're trying to stop it.
no, we're not
Through
trying to stop
emotional-
it. If I was trying to stop it, I wouldn't have made a motion at all. I'm trying to find a compromise, 84, and not have, did you say not have the spaces for the staff?
Right. You could just say 1 point, if you were wanting to stick with 84, if you wanted to make it a text amendment, you could say the 1.2 spaces for each veteran. And then that would be the assumption that that also includes all the employee parking, handicap parking, everything.
That's not even a way that you, county manager, that's not even a professional identification of how you put parking spaces on an assisted living facility. We're trying to put a professional identification on how you identify something should be labeled. And we're gonna make up something. You've got professionals here that have told you, but yet we wanna do things.
The professionals that you quote one professional, but there are all numbers here that are not the same numbers. Is
How
one,
many do you have on that chart that goes beyond 1 parking space per bed?
on this chart that you have 2 that have 1 per bed.
Okay,
Okay, but the rest of them are certainly not a half a parking place per bed. Currituck has 54 and 90 is 45. You know, so there is there's no
Well,
standard quotation.
how many goes beyond one space per bed?
On this one, there was two that just had one per bed, but then if you look at some of the old facilities that are not built by Meridian, there are some that have more than one per bed.
We keep saying that these numbers were given by a professional, but that same professional couldn't follow one simple statement here that said that each space is 10 to 20.
Well, I'm not sure if this is I saw it going with 10 by 20.
But this is the one that's been submitted.
Oh, yeah, well, the one that's presented to us today.
And the same man signed both papers.
Okay, the meeting was called to request a review by the planning board, which is legally required in order to prior to having a text amendment. And the letter's been presented to you. If you have a motion on the floor to modify the letter or modify the request to 86.
I was just looking for a common ground to
Well,
try to
we
move
gotta
the
do-
process over. I'm not looking for something, aren't we in the process, correct me if I'm wrong, that we're going to take a look at our ordinances on planning and zoning and have them done so that we can look at this as a holistic process and not cherry pick. And so this is not to be a solution for the future. This is just a compromise at this point in time for this facility. That's all I'm making the motion for. So, you know, it's not something to go way out in the future. It's for this Gates Health Partnership, whatever it's called. And I'm looking, like I say, a compromise, 84. And it's, that's,
Is that what the original motion, 84?
right. I meant 84. I might have misspoken and said 86, 84. That way they have a plan, they can go on, continue moving.
Looks like that's what they're all working for anyway.
This calls for no additional spaces for employees. On the 84, it would include the spaces for employees.
Well, 84, if it's a 70-bed facility, if you do it by your formula, it's 35 plus there's, I think 42 only gives 7. I don't understand how you think there's only 7 people on staff at any given time.
No, you go by bedrooms.
Okay, but I mean, well, you have to have some for staff. Don't you agree?
Yeah, you've got
Okay.
17 for staff. 17 spaces for staff.
Well, 70 beds divided by 2 is 35.
It's 50 bedrooms. You don't go by the beds.
Okay, 50 bedrooms, okay, 25, and you're going to give them 17. You know, I was looking at 70 beds, and, you know, if you think about staff, that's 14. That's 84.
$70. And how many?
14.
Well, you're gonna have more. If you got 50 employees, you're gonna probably have anywhere from 17 to 20 people on day shift, maybe 15 or.
Well, I can always increase to 86, that would, or 87. I was trying to reach a compromise, Mr. Jordan, something
You know,
that we.
I I would probably compromise maybe, if you said 70, I would maybe compromise on that. But to require 84 spaces, they have requested 42, a reduction to 42. I mean, it's a bit unreasonable, but, and you know, and here Billy's already pointed out here that these 84 spaces or 86 spaces, that we've got a dimensional problem here.
And that-
So you're gonna have to redo that. So if we're gonna take these 84 spaces that's been outlined and designed, which is actually gonna fall back, because if you get you get the correct dimensional requirements for the parking space.
Okay, and now we see that as a professional has done the parking spaces.
Well,
That, you know,
My poor engineering.
so that engineer was certainly, that was an error.
Well, I won't say, this is, you know, many of these drawings are come out of CAD systems, and that may be the standard. You know, ours is 10 by 20, every county may not be 10 by 20, and that may have been just, you know, an initial.
They're not standard, there's 1, 2 on it, it's 9 by 18.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
They're different.
Yeah,
The man puts his name on there, he takes authority for it. So, doesn't matter what kind of system it comes out of.
well, the thing about it is that our ordinance specifies 10 by 20. There may be some others that are different. These are, of this design, a lot of this cookie cutter. They don't change the design every time they get ready to put them in a assisted living facility.
You might need to read the ordinance where they're going.
Well, Commissioner Feldman, we're trying to bring economic development. We're trying to be business friendly as much as possible. We're trying to help our citizens of Gates County to have a job that they can go to, our citizens to have a place that they can come and reside in. And we're trying to make a difference in this county. We're not just here to critique everything and keep things status quo.
And each individual that comes in has a different set of rules for that individual.
What do you mean?
Well, we've not done this to anybody else.
How many other businesses have you brought in?
No one else has tried to go around the system.
We make special provisions for many situations in Gates County. This board has approved, we waive permit fees
I know, I
for
thought they would make a special
for elderly
provision for special
many
people.
times. That's right. So we do make special provision. We have a Homestead Act for citizens 65 and over that they can pay 1/2 of their tax. There's a lot of special uses, special permits.
But that's
for-
not it, that's not it.
Well, that's not something that's a law, that's state law,
That
okay.
applies to everyone.
That applies to everyone, that's not special.
Yeah, but I just identified a special provision that we have, which is waiving permit fees for in certain situations. So,
But then we don't waive permit fees for a lot of people who have who live here and have businesses, you know.
how are we gonna grow the county? How are we gonna bring things to the county with this kind of attitude?
What
What
attitude?
attitude? We just asked them to follow the rules and
Well, you
regulations.
give them the right rules and regulations. We haven't given them the right rules.
Well-
We're sitting back here as if we are totally correct in everything we're doing.
Well, that's what they're doing right here. They have designed their system, and incorrectly designed it, but they made a mistake too. But we can't continue, well, we got a motion on the floor.
That's right.
I
All
asked-
right, we've got a motion on the floor. The motion is what, 84?
84.
All right, all in favor of requesting 84 parking spaces that
10 by 20.
our zoning ordinance recommended to be changed for assisted living facility have 84 parking spaces. No, I think in order to make that motion, I think we need, because we've got to ask, this is to go to the planning board.
Okay, 84 parking places based on 1.2 parking places per bed. If you want to make sure that that was how we came up with the 84.
And that's the same requirement we already got. Okay.
And this is for the assisted living at Merchants Commerce. Because we are getting ready to redo the ordinance.
All right. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Nay. Now, I will make a motion. I'll make a motion that the letter that's present to the planning board, as presented to the board of commissioners, requesting that it be, the zoning ordinance be amended to require 1/2 parking space per bed. I'll make that motion that the board approve submitting that letter to the planning board. Is there a second?
I don't understand the motion. You are asking for a motion to change the ratio to 1/2 a parking place per bed.
Plus 1 space per employee. No, it's 1/2 per bedroom and 1 space per employee on duty. That's my motion. Is there a second? All right, the motion dies. At this point, we will have to revisit this. I think per the guidelines Robert through the board, that this motion will have to come up within 30 days. We will address it again at our next meeting.
That means next Wednesday?
No, it won't be addressed then. We'll have to address it, when you look at the not the same motion, if we came up with something different, we could discuss it at our next meeting. But to bring the same motions back to the board, you could not do that within 30 days. You come up with something different, we couldn't do that. I think it's a sad day when we cannot come together and move forward on something that's important as this, and not have a cooperation with the full board.
We have the cooperation of the majority of the board.
Well, I think I have been trying to reach a compromise. I was trying to work through and to keep the project moving. I don't see it as I'm as an obstructionist, but I was looking at I want a facility, just like everybody else. I want it to be good for the county, but I also want it to be customer friendly. When I go out there to visit somebody, I would like to have a parking space. I don't see where that is being unreasonable.
And just for the public record, this motion does not in any way slow down any progress on anything out there. They're working under this assumption anyway. It doesn't change a thing.
It could change it. Because 101 is unreasonable.
Well,
But we didn't-
nobody's talking about 100.
One, nobody's talking about it. One. I mean,
All right.
I'd still like to see somebody that represents this organization to show up and discuss it.
They've been here and discussed it. You know,
Well,
what-
we've had the builders and the managers, but how about the owners of this property?
Keller Building Contract, they're building the facility, the way the business is done. You know, this is 2014. You know, people just don't come up and just put up businesses from scratch and, you know, they bear all the expenses. One company will put up the shell, the other one comes and leases it.
Somebody's got to be responsible for
Sure,
it.
sure. Okay.
When was the last time we saw Chuck White?
Seen Chuck White,
You have seen Chuck. When was the last time the board saw Chuck White?
this is one of the minor investments of that company. That company has taken upon itself to come to Gates County at a request and by the efforts of the sitting board at the time, and have tried to bring economic development to the county, and they responded.
And I think
And
the
now-
county has been very, we just asked them to follow the rules.
You need to get the rules straight, first of all.
And they need to follow the rules.
Well, we're taking a defensive position. Everybody's wrong but us. That's
Well,
that's
no,
wrong.
no.
No, we're the ones, we're sitting up here, you got to satisfy this board of commissioners, and the board of commissioners don't have their facts and figures correct all the time as well.
And I agree, and sometimes the Board of Commissioners has not been, all members of the Board of Commissioners have not been informed of everything that has gone on. And we were, it's kind of hard to make informed
You all
decisions.
you received emails, everything that transpired here was emailed to you. And first of all, and let's get this straight, when we send out emails, commissioners are not supposed to dialogue with one another and responding back and forth.
I'm
I
sorry, I
can-
have to
That's not
disagree with
correct.
it. If you respond, this was in a class last week. If you send or I send a message to everyone, and the next day, let's say Commissioner Hopper responds that night, and you respond the next day, that is not a public meeting. However, if I send something or you send something, and within an hour, everyone has responded, then yes, that does violate public meeting laws. But if it's one responds and an hour or two later another responds, that does not violate public meeting laws. That was made very clear to
To
us.
everyone. To
To
everyone.
everyone.
Yeah, well, that's not what I've been in county commissioner school as well.
And that was told to us last week at the county manager's conference.
Yeah, but,
That is the general statute too, I read it last night.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
well, we do need to go into closed session. We have one item we need to go into closed session
Point
about.
of clarification, everyone has to agree to that because that was not advertised. I looked up that before we came over here.
Yeah, special meeting for one purpose only.
We have an item we need to address, Billy, if it's the pleasure of the board. I mean, I'm just one member of the board, and I'm asking if we will go into closed session with this one item. If you don't want to do it, then certainly, that's up to the board.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, we'll listen.
All right. We need a motion to.
Make a motion, we'll go in closed session.
Second.
It's on closed session, according to, statute 142, all in favor, aye? Aye. All right. Come out of closed session.
Make a motion to come out of closed session.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, no. Okay, we need a motion to authorize the county manager to draw a contract between the consultant for our tax office as discussed in closed session.
So moved.
Second.
That's motion second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay.
Move to adjourn.
Second the motion.
All right, motion second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, nay.